Welcome back to Krenkoscorner. Today's deck tech will be on Gwafa Hazid, Profiteer. This deck runs a pillar fort strategy of staying safe and making everyone attack someone else. Let's get right into the deck. Gwafa Hazid Profiteer is a 2/2 legendary human rogue for 1 white and a blue. He has the activated ability of 1 and a blue and tap to put a bribery counter on a target creature you don't control, and its controller draws a card. Creatures with bribery counters on them can't attack or block. Now let's get into the deck. Of course, we start off with Soul Ring, Azorius Signet for mana ramp, as well as Thought Vessel for the hand size and mana. Arcane Signet gives us the extra mana ramp as well. Unbender Time gives us the ability to untap Gwafa whenever we need to. Mirage Mirror allows us to get a copy of any target artifact, creature, or enchantment, and even a land at any point. Mind's Eye gives us the little extra draw step as long as we have the mana available. Norn's Annex rounds out our artifacts with being able to shut down people unless they pay for life or Phyrexian mana or white. Now let's get into our sorceries. Time Wipe, of course, allows us to return Gwafa to our hand and then destroy all other creatures. Supreme Verdict gives us that uncounterable spell to destroy everything on the battlefield. Cleansing Nova gives us the option of dealing with artifacts and enchantments, or all the creatures. In most cases, we're going to take out all the creatures, since this is a heavy enchantment deck. Fumigate does the same thing, but gives us some extra life. Phyrexian Rebirth, although I don't see this card in a lot of decks, I think it's a really great board wipe, because it gives us a creature after letting the battlefield go away. Hour of Revelation is another great board wipe, and is really underrated. Right into the instance, we go to an old card called a Counterspell, which of course has been reprinted, but this one's old enough that it's still an interrupt. Unwind gives us another option of countering, but gives us the 3 lands back, and the 3 lands are of our choice. Syncopate, another Counterspell, but it gives us more option based on the CMC. Dovin's Veto, always great, and often this shuts down some big spells because it can't be countered. Silence for 1 shuts down a player's ability to do something for that turn. Render Silent also does the same. It counters that spell, and then they can't cast anything else. Generous Gift, the White Beast Within. Narset's Reversal shuts down an instant or sorcery spell, and then you may choose new targets for that copy. Crib Swap, always fun to play, and they may get 1/1 colors, but generally we're taking out something big. Now into our Planeswalkers, the one that they hate the most, Narset, Parter of Veils. She just shuts down their ability to draw, but gives you a little advantage. Teferi Time Raveler, well, again, another one that everyone dislikes. Dovin, the Hand of Control, it just gives us that ability to give them a little bit more cost, and that we can prevent all that damage as well. Teo, the Shield Mage, just gives you hexproof, and it also gives you some walls to have extra defense. Getting into our large amount of enchantments, we have Authority of the Consuls. Only costs us 1, and all creatures your opponents control enter tapped, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, you also gain life. Deafening Silence. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn, and with us, we're not generally going to be casting a lot of spells, so this won't hurt us too much. Corrupted Conscience. Well, why not infect your way to a win? Fear of Safety. It can't attack you at all unless they pay X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control. Often there's 5 or 6 enchantments on the battlefield, and so this gets really problematic. Arrest always deals with their commander or any other pesky creature. Propaganda. Well, we want them to cost more. If they are going to swing at us, we want it to cost more for them. Martial Law. We're going to make sure we detain a creature the opponent controls, and they can't attack or block or activate their abilities. Curse of Exhaustion. Can't enchant 1 player, and they can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. Gives us lots of options. Consulate Crackdown. Exile all artifacts your opponents control until Consulate Crackdown leaves the battlefield. If they forget to deal with this, they might as well say goodbye to all their mana rocks. Law Mage's Binding. Flash it in, shut them creature down entirely. And Kismet, a card I think a lot of people forget about. To all of target players' creatures, lands, and artifacts come into play tapped. they don't deal with this, they're going to be hurting for the rest of the game. Monastery Siege gives us a few options on the battlefield. Ghostly Prison. Well, when you combine this with Propaganda, you're never going to attack me. Dissipation Field. Whenever a permanent deals damage to you after all, just return it to their hand. Sigil of the Empty Throne. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 4/4 white angel token with flying onto the battlefield. With all the enchantments in this deck, we'll get quite a few angels in this card. Imprisoned in the Moon. We enchant a creature, a land, or a planeswalker that's giving us problems, shut it down, and basically give them just a little bit of a mana rock. Psychic Impetus. Enchant one of their creatures, yeah, they get +2/+2 bonus, but they're goaded, and they're not going to attack us. And whenever they do try to attack someone else, we'll scry 2 and take care of what we need. Getting into our creatures, which is just not a heavy creature deck, let's get into Asperia, the Supreme Judge. A 6/4 flyer, and then you are Planeswalker control, you may draw a card. Why not? Archaeomancer. When it enters battlefield, we'll get an instant or sorcery back from our graveyard to our hand. This gives us lots of options in case we lose a board wipe or a counterspell early on. Clone, because what you have, I want. Blazing Archon. Creatures just can't attack me. High CMC, but still great. Draneth Magistrate. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Sorry, graveyards. Wall of Denial. A card I thought about pulling out of the deck, but as soon as it hits the battlefield, everybody seems to hate it. Not sure why. Mesa Enchantress. With all the enchantments in our deck, we want to get that extra draw. Azorius Guildmage gives us a little bit of activated abilities to tap their creatures or counter one of their activated abilities. Kinjali's Sunwing. Creatures your opponents control enter battlefield tapped. A little bit of a repeating theme, but we're just going to take care of it. Lavinia of the 10th. Well, sorry, Red. And we're just going to detain a lot of problems. Daxos of Meletis. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, and when it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library, and we gain life equal to that CMC. Until end of turn, you may cast that card and pay any amount of mana, as there were any mana of any color, to cast it. Azor's Elocutors. Time to get filibustering. We're going to slow it down, try to get as many tokens as we can on this, and win the game without them even remembering what happened. Willbreaker. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, gain control of that creature for as long as you control Willbreaker. With all the creatures and different abilities we have on the stack, we will definitely be taking their stuff. And Lavinia, Azorius Renegade. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with CMC cost greater than the number of lands I control. Or whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter it. Baird, Steward of Argiv. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalk you control unless the controller pays an additional 1 for those creatures. He's not in here for the vigilance or the attacking. He's just there to add to Propaganda and Ghostly Prison and Sphere of Safety and all the rest of the pillows in our fort. Silent Arbiter. No more than 1 creature can attack each combat, and no more than 1 creature can block each combat. We're not so much worried about this, even with the negative consequences, because this is a net creature-heavy deck. Aven Mind Sensor. We'll flash it in, and if they try to search their library, they only get the top 4 cards instead. Perplexing Chimera. Nice little problem. Whenever they cast a spell, may exchange control of Perplexing Chimera and that spell. If you do, may choose new target for the spell. You have something big, you can have this instead. Hushbringer. Flying, lifelink. Creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger. This deals with a lot of decks like Panharmonicon issues, or Teysa Karlov, or anything involving graveyards. Getting into our lands, we have the Tranquil Cove, Kabira Crossroads, getting us some extra life, Azorius Guildgate, a little slow, but it's shiny, Azorius Chancery, Glacial Fortress, Mystic Gate, Hallowed Fountain for the Shockland, Evolving Wilds, and Terramorphic Expanse, just to make sure we get our mana fixing, Command Tower, Temple of Enlightenment to get the Scry, Reliquary Tower, just so we have the safe hand size, a land most people don't see coming, Ice Flow. You may choose not to untap Ice Flow during your untap phase. Tap it to tap target creature without flying that is attacking you. As long as Ice Flow remains tapped, that creature does not untap during its controller's untap phase. See what happens. Mystifying Maze, Secluded Steppe, as well as Lonely Sandbar for our cycle lands. Then we have 9 planes. Of course, these are the Azorius ones. And 1 foil. As well as 11 islands. Again, Azorius and foil. And then in the end, we have a couple cards we may decide to add to the deck as upgrades. Puppet Strings allows us for 2 to untap or tap a target creature. We may do this on Gwafa to allow his ability to trigger more than once per turn. And we also may add in Weathered Runestone. Non-land permanent cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield, and players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. And that's my take on Gwafa Hazid, Profiteer. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.